button and introduce our team. We are DIIT, Division of Instructional and Information Technology here at the DOE. My name's Laura Ogando, Program Manager for the Office of Digital Literacy and Inclusion. I believe Lisa had to run to a meeting, so I'm just going to say on behalf of Lisa Nielsen, you know she's stoked that you are all here and in for another fabulous session. I'm going to now turn it over to Christina.
Thanks all, you know me, same old spiel. Christina Basias, Ed Tech Implementation Manager at DIIT, here with these lovely folks, excited for another fabulous Friday session. And then passing it back to Laura and my girl Latiqua, of course.
Latiqua is always in the back end. You know, you're never gonna like see her, but she's there and she gives us so much support. So I always like to call her out because I cannot do what I do without her. And some of you who teach remotely, you probably know the same thing. If you have someone, you know, maybe a paraprofessional, you know, even a student teacher or someone who just helps you, you know, in the back channel, maybe it's a student, right? You know how valuable that support is. So I always like to shout her out because she is awesome. But with that, I'm going to turn it over now to Derry to kick us off. So Derry, take it away.
Hi, thank you so much, Laura. Happy Friday. We made it. It is Friday. It is my favorite time of the week where we get together and we're just going to add to our tools to ensure that parents stay connected and us as family liaisons get to know some cool new resources and tools. Super excited. It is Friday. I want to welcome you again. My name is Derry Rodriguez. Hopefully you guys know me by now. I'm from FACE, and I'm going to turn it over to Diana just to say hello. Diana, are you here?
Yes, good morning, everyone. I'm always excited to be here and participate with this amazing Digital Friday and all the information. We were just sharing out yesterday in our meetings. Everyone is providing and giving us strong feedback of how enthusiastic and excited and the rejoining back and the support and the resources. So it's been amazing. And it was amazing to share out in our staff FACE meeting yesterday of all the support we have received from your team. So we are truly excited. Thank you for having me again.
Thank you, Diana. And just a few announcements before we introduce our segment. So every Friday, we're going to spotlight a digital parent engagement best practice. So I'm so excited to introduce our next presenter. But before that, I just want to mention that Watch Party Wednesdays is going to resume in February. We do have a schedule. If you don't have the schedule, I'm happy to send it to you guys via email or put it in our parent coordinator team chat. So you guys will get it right in there. So just a friendly reminder, Watch Party Wednesdays will start on Friday. I'm sorry, next in February. We're going to have our first guest that's going to talk all things health and wellness. So you don't want to miss that. Another plug is that we are going strong with the New York City School account. So please make sure your parents get a New York City School account. It is actually the CEC season is going to kick off, and in order for a parent to vote, they have to have a New York City School account. I know I missed the music. Trust me, we're going to have some music at the end. Don't miss out. Stay with us towards the end. We're going to party. It is our Friday series. And with that, I'm gonna introduce our first guest, where we're gonna spotlight digital parent engagement best practice, and is our very own colleague from the Bronx, and is our parent coordinator, Miss Rosado. So, Miss Rosado, do you mind turning on your camera and joining us? She is from the Bronx. She is a high school parent coordinator. So she's going to share her best practice on how she's promoting digital parent engagement. So give her a hand, everybody. Either turn on your camera and snap your fingers, give her shout outs on the chat. So welcome, Ms. Rosado.
Gracias, thank you so much.
Muchas gracias.
I love your Friday energy, and I'm trying to tap into that.
You got this.
Thank you so much. It's been quiet, right? It's been so quiet, and then you guys are here now, and I'm like, yeah, Friday. Otherwise, it's just me, my books, and my tea. But yes, I'm Iraida Rosado. I'm a parent coordinator at a high school in the Bronx, Validus Preparatory Academy. And I love our Zoom sessions, but I don't know how to use Zoom. So I was like, well, how am I gonna? I mean, I'm sure that if I jumped into it, I could have done it. But there were certain workshops that I had to get done, and I was just like, you know what? I don't know how to do that, but I'm gonna do what I know how to do. So I started playing around with the Google Meeting because everything in our office is Google related. We don't really use our office. We don't really use Zoom too much. We didn't use Zoom too much. Now we had to do it a little more because people were getting bombed. So it was a safer platform. But for Google Meetings, for my parents, I have to say I'm thankful, so thankful that I've literally never had one single incident in our Google Meetings. From last spring till now, I've used the Google Meetings, and then what I'll do is I use the Google Docs, the Google Forms to so that they can sign in and log in, and because it has their email address, we know it's theirs. So they have to use their email to get in. So I'm going to share my screen with you so that you can see basically how I format my workshops and how I just walk through. Let's see. And this is my first time doing this, so I'm really excited because I get to learn something new. And I've always found that the answer to my success is to just say yes. Whenever somebody puts something in front of you that you do not know how to do, just say yes. And ask them, well, do you have any tips for how I might be able to get this done? And I'm sure that, if they're asking you, they respect you and they like you and they want to see you be successful, and they will give you a little guideline. So that is what I wanted to do today, to provide a guideline for how to do Google Meetings using Google Docs, because it's something that we use at work. It's something that we're pretty familiar with. They're super easy to use. So this is my Workshopping with Faith is the title. And it's and you'll see that this is the format that I tend to use. I want to use a little bit of color, so that's not just a black and white Google Doc, because then that's kind of boring. And so what I'll do is, you see, this was still in the editing stage, so then I'll just put it on viewing so that you're not seeing all that stuff. And so from here, I would put in my goal. As I'm putting together my workshop, I put my goal at the top so that I know what I want to, how I want to plug this in. So my goal here is to create an engaging, interesting, interactive, informative virtual community. That's what I want from my parents and my school, because it's easy to create community in person, but it's really not when everybody's separate in their homes and they don't know how to use computers too well. So I found that this was just a little less daunting, a little less scary to teach my PTA, because my goal is to teach them how to use this so that they can take over and do their own PTA meetings. So I started with doing my agenda on Google Docs and sharing it so that I would be in the same place with my PTA board. So that's how this idea started, right? Necessity is the mother of invention. So I said, well, how am I going to do this, collaborative agenda? Let me, put it on Google Docs and I'll share it with them. And boom, now we're all working on the same document together. And the agenda ended up becoming like the PTA presentation. And I was like, all right, cool. So then that's what we're going to do. And then links started falling in and stuff. So number one, I use Google Meetings. Number two, I use Google Docs. And then number three would be my content, right? What are the important things to make sure that I have in this workshop to create a dynamic and interesting workshop that people are going to want to return to? Because if I'm just in there going, hi, I'm Miss Rosado, these are some of the things that are happening right now, I could do that on the Blackboard Connect Blast. So how do we make it so that we're actually feeling like we're hanging out? So normally, you have your icebreaker, you shoot the breeze, you have your information, the business that you need to get done. And then we do a watch party or activity where we can actually do something interactive. And then we would provide the resources that we want to make sure that they have. So it's like cool time, information, cool time, information. And then instead of an icebreaker, what I have is I do a hot cocoa or a cool down. So the hot cocoa would be kind of like, you know, the takeaway from the workshop. What did you take away from it? So I wanted to show you what that actually looks like, what my agenda would actually look like, and that would then develop into the PTA meeting. And so then what I ended up doing was that I ended up having my links in there. Can you see it okay?
Yeah, I mean, if you want, you can, yeah, that link, right? That'll pop it into a bigger window.
No, yeah, definitely. I just wanted to, I didn't want to do anything that would then move us around too much. So then, you know, I have our school's logo on top, name of the school, PTA agenda, let us know, you know, letting them know who's who and what's what. And then I share this screen. As we can still all see each other, I share this screen. So then the meeting is called to order. We have our treasurer's report, meeting minutes, and then the things that we want to share out with links in them, right? So then here, when I was teaching, sharing out Google Guardian, I had the PTA secretary kind of already well-versed in this so that she was participating, jumping in and explaining the parent guide to the Guardian email summaries. We had our business manager come and talk about Title I funds and distribution. I shared out Parent University and the parent workshops from the Child Mind Institute, and then provided a list of the workshops that they had so that it would make them want to go into these links. And then we have our hot cocoa with our holiday hopes, and the meeting is adjourned. So this is our straightforward PTA meeting, right? So what I do is my sign-in sheet is right there embedded. And one of the things that I like about Google Docs is that you can actually name the link, right? So here I highlight it, and when you touch it, you can actually change the meaning of the link. So right here, it's not just a bunch of links. You could put December, you know, you put December PTA. And so your links are named and they're looking neat and clean on your page. So then one of the things that I like about Google Meetings is that then you can save your chat. So as we're going, I say, hey guys, you know, please let me know if you're not receiving your Google Guardian emails and the chat. And, you know, please, you know, let us know X, Y, and Z. And they do that. So then I save the chat at the end before I log out. I copy the whole chat and I put it right there on the bottom. And then we have our chat screen there. We also have our minutes. When they send it to us is there. And then we have who was present, a list of who was in the space as well, so that I remember to thank them later, send an email and say, thank you for joining us at our meeting. And it has a personal touch that they really do enjoy. And so when your administrators ask you for anything about your PTA meeting, it's already there. Everything is all together. You have your agenda, you have your sign-in sheet with everybody that signed in, you have your chat, your interactive chat to return to later on. Your meeting minutes are there. So next month when you have to read the minutes, you can just go back to your last doc and read your minutes. It's an amazing package. It's a perfect little package to use. And that's pretty straightforward. So I wanted to show you something that would kind of have like a more fun vibe, which was my holiday wellness workshop. So the Welcome Rest and Wellness workshop with Ms. Rosado. I noted to please have our scholars join us because I wanted it, because it's a family event, I wanted it to, no, this isn't the family event. The reason why I did this workshop is because one of the problems that parents are sharing with us is that their students aren't sleeping well. So then we had, and that's why they're not able to wake up early and get into their work. So I did a rest and wellness workshop with bullet points, asking them, you know, our icebreaker was just asking them about their general sleeping habits. And as they're answering questions, the bullet points are coming out onto the screen, and I was typing live. So it's exciting to them because they get to see themselves becoming part of the live presentation. Their answers are going up on the screen. And so they want to answer now, right? Because what they said is going up on the board. And then from there, after we had a little conversation, you know, like what are some of the outcomes of not getting as much sleep as you need? What are some of the reasons we might not get enough sleep? Then we watched 2 videos. One is about 4 minutes, one is about 6 minutes. So we watched the 4-minute one, had a little conversation, watched the 6-minute one, had a little conversation, and then there's Dream With Me. You know, dream with me about your goals. What are you going to do next based on what we just discussed? Name 3 things you'll do differently. And then there was that. And then we have our overall message. Think of sleep as a healthy lifestyle choice, create mindful practices. And I can share this with our workshop leaders here. One of the other things I wanted to present is, and I will stop for Q&As or, you know, whatever, but I wanted to just go through these real quick because some of it might be answered as I'm presenting. One of the things that I absolutely love about this is that, about using the Google Docs, is that it allows me to translate right in the document. And it allows me to toggle back and forth. So here we have the holiday self-care workshop with Ms. Rosado. I invited our social worker and guidance counselor because this was on December 22nd, and it was right before we were going to say goodbye to our families for the holiday break. And I wanted them to have, we didn't want to have like a holiday party, but we wanted it to feel festive and warm. So we had our workshop. Now, when you are in a Google Doc, one of the amazing tools that they have is Translate Document. You hit Translate Document and you can turn that into this workshop into so many different languages right there on the spot. And I mean, so many different languages. So that's a blessing. It's beautiful to be able to make everyone feel included. And then what happens is that I would say, hi, hola, ¿cómo están? Blah, blah, blah. And I would go back. And it's the same exact workshop in Spanish. So then I, you know, the main languages in my school are Spanish, French, and Arabic. So I greet everybody in their languages. And then we do, you know, we do a wellness check and we go through and we just toggle back and forth, you know. So that way, as I'm talking, as I'm sharing one thing, I'm going back and forth. And how do I get that out of there? Put that down there. So I'm going back and forth and, you know, what's your some of the ways that you take care of yourself. So we're able to go back and forth. And again, they're answering the questions. We do a watch party. The watch parties are a little difficult because I have not found watch parties that are in English and Spanish, but I'm working on doing something with that. You know, as we learn, we grow. So watch party, let's watch a short video, 13 steps to self-care and a better you. And then which ideas really stood out to you as something you'd like to incorporate into your self-care regimen. And then here was part of here's the part that we have to do. And I had to provide resources. I'm part of the crisis management team. And this was created I created this as a member of the crisis management team. So the goal here was to provide resources for the families during the break. And so that was embedded. And that was also emailed to all of the families.
Thank you, Ms. Rosario. I actually have a quick question for you because I love all this. And one of the things that we wanted to spotlight is the fact that during digital PDs, I saw a lot of the information that was, so my question to you is, were you able to turnkey the Google training that was provided by Laura's team to put this together?
You know, I don't remember. I come to a lot of it, but in terms of that specific thing, I don't remember. I just know that along the way, I've gone to the trainings and I take notes and I grab and so slowly, I think by osmosis, it kind of just integrates itself. And I remember certain things but I do know for sure that your meetings are absolutely the reason why I got to where I am with this, like, especially the watch party thing and the Padlet, right? So, in my hot cocoa, you know, what will you do to take care of yourself? You know, so my hot cocoa, I ended up doing that, and that ended up becoming like the interactive closeout. So there were a lot of details that I did learn from the face workshops. Absolutely. And then,
I'm sorry to interrupt because we're gonna move it along, but
no,
I
no, of
wanted
course.
to make sure to thank you because it showed that all things are possible, that we can actually, any one of us can actually promote family engagement on a digital platform. So thank you for showing us how we
Absolutely.
can use Google to ensure that parents see exactly what the goals are. You mentioned watch parties. So definitely thank you for this best practice tools. We really appreciate you coming to our digital PD and showcasing your digital best practice. So everyone just shout out Ms. Rosado
You're welcome. Thank
on
you
the
so
chat.
much.
If you want to reach out to her, we're gonna continue this chat on our team, so that you guys can ask her more questions. And also, I love it. Like if you want to share, do you mind sharing the Google form? And
I
then
don't mind, not at all. No, sharing never, yeah. I'm a person that I firmly believe in sharing what we do because it takes nothing from me. If we're all growing, we go together. That's amazing.
oh my God, thank you so much. You added like you kicked us off on a Friday with some high energy. I'm just gonna turn it over to Laura for the next presentation. Thank you for our we're continuing the segment, spotlighting your digital engagement practice. So we can't wait because next week we have another guest. Um, at FLC, I won't announce the name because we're gonna announce the name on our another week wrap up email. So look out for our next presenter at the end of the week wrap up. Thank you, everyone. And I'm turning it over to Laura.
Thank you. Thank you. And I just want to call out, I saw a lot of little nuggets of stuff that we have presented. And I mean, just alone, the fact that you have an agenda, our team is big on that. Like, and you've probably noticed that we're all about like agenda, because
Love it.
once you put it in the agenda, then that's the only thing you got to share. So that alone. I saw all the nuggets, and I'm so glad that you have been able to take away so many things from this PD. So moving along, Tali is not here, unfortunately. She between childcare and then other meetings, but she just wanted me to quickly, obviously, go over some of the resources that Common Sense has. You know that they're amazing. Everything on there, 100% free, and that's always the name of the game. So wanted to plug a new digital citizenship PD, and this is going to be huge. You may have heard of this, but it is part of the principles compliance checklist. It is item 23. Schools have to teach their students digital citizenship. You have to use an approved curriculum. Common Sense is one of them. So is Be Internet Awesome, which we will find out about in just a moment. So if you're looking for more support, we encourage you to attend these sessions. So we'll pop the link into the chat where you can register for these events. They're also posted on our learning calendar, digin.nyc/learningcal. But again, we'll pop that into the chat in just a moment. But we'll be going over some of the resources that you need to meet this compliance checklist item. And then I know that there's been a lot of concern over, privacy and security. So that is one of the buckets that Common Sense addresses. So just to kind of be intentional and call that out. And then let's now get into some of our polling, because you know how we do. We like to find out who's in the room. So 1 second here, I'm going to launch a poll. Hold on. All right, here we go. So you should see on your screen a poll asking, what is your current role? We know we have a lot of PCs, possibly some FLCs, some FSCs. I know we have a couple teachers here, maybe some school secretaries and administrators. Whatever your role is, go ahead and fill out that poll. Give you a few moments. And I see we are at 66% voted. So I'll give you about 10 more seconds. Quickly, wrap it up. Oh, and it's okay if you lost the poll. We know you, Rita. All righty. So I'm going to end it for us. I can share the results. As per usual, we got a lot of PCs on the line, but I want to shout out everyone who's here because listen, you showed up, you're here, you're learning with us, and that's what it's all about. So thank you all for showing up. We know we have quite the following. You guys turn up every week and thank you. We really do appreciate it. All right, one more poll, because why not? We always like to check in with all of you. It's good practice. And you kind of saw, that's something that PCs are doing as well. Like it's important to have that like informal time, just to check in, even if it's just in the chat, like how you doing, how you feeling. It's important. And again, it's been another crazy week. So I know, I added none of the above, but I got feedback earlier and I got to add another option of like all of the above. Some of us are having all the feelings. I know I have had a week of like literally all the feelings. I'm not even going to lie. So I promise you next week, there's going to be an I button and it's going to say everything, literally all the feelings all at once. All right, going to give you guys another 10 more seconds to fill it in. Absolutely. And you know what? This does get overwhelming. I want to call attention to Christina's comment. This is tough. This is really tough. I mean, between, I think, personal things that happen to us that we may not feel comfortable sharing in large groups, and that's okay, to things that are happening nationally, to just the overwhelmingness of being in this setting, right? Like it gets to you. And sometimes you start to feel a little nutty. It's okay. I think we have to normalize that sometimes you're going to be not okay. And that's actually okay. It's okay to not be okay, if that makes any type of sense. So we have to talk about it. And I think, families are struggling. I know our students are struggling. Educators are everyone's, it's hard. This is hard. But you have support and you are not alone. So if I can end on a positive note, I'm always a glass half full type of person. So, all right, I'm going to end this for us. And it looks like most of us are tired, which is about par for the course. I know it's been a long week. It's always a long week. But I'm super pumped because we have a very fabulous presenter on deck. But before I introduce our presenters, just want to call out, we asked you guys last week what you wanted for some of our future sessions. And we listened to you, and a lot of you said you wanted a class all about some effective practices for remote facilitation. And what's really, really interesting is that I know Iraida just shared, and she is already doing a lot of the stuff we call out. So if you kind of want to get better with this, maybe you're feeling like some of those remote meetings you're running are kind of, like they're good, but you're feeling like you got to take it to the next level. You're going to want to show up next week. We're going to walk you through just a couple of key things that you can do to really make that remote meeting that you're going to have even better. All right. We're going to talk through some of those tips and best practices. So that's on deck for next week. But without further ado, it is time for Project Recess, and you have a fabulous presenter today. I'm going to turn it over to Tracy, who's going to walk us through some really wonderful resources with Google's Be Internet Awesome. So Tracy, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Please take it away.
Hi everyone, I'm Tracy. My first question, as always, is I hope you can see my screen. If I could get some nods, if you can see the words speak. Because like all of you, you think you're talking about something and it takes someone 5 minutes to say, oh, I can't see what you're saying. Feel free to drop any questions in the chat. Everything I'm sharing is in the agenda or in the presentation. I've just dropped that into the chat for you. Feel free to ask questions. And I just want to pick up on something Laura said. So she mentioned common sense education. I don't know if anyone saw the advert last night. There was an advert for common sense education all about having digital free dinner times, meal times, where people were trying to sneak in their phones and whatever, and like grandpa or whoever had a scanner and they had to put them in a vault. And it's nice to see that it's kind of reaching a much wider audience. So thank you all for joining us. I'm an ex-teacher, and I've had the privilege of working K to 12 and with teacher trainers. And I really enjoy what I do. I'm talking about the Google Be Internet Awesome today. However, there are other resources. It doesn't mean you stick to one. And what I'm hoping is you're going to have like a butterfly net above your head, and you're going to catch things and think, oh, I can use that. Or, oh, I might use that later, even if you're not ready for it now. Okay, so there's a lot of information. You may just remember in the future, oh, Tracy mentioned something about that. That's fine. So to get started, we're going to start with what my expected outcomes are. You can tell I'm an ex-teacher because I'll always go on to my expected outcomes, apart from it doesn't want to move on. Okay, so I want to establish what makes up a good digital citizenship, because I keep hearing about digital citizenship and nobody ever told me what a digital citizen is. They assumed I knew. I want to explore some resources that you guys can use with parents, you can use with your students, and with a little bit of tweaking, you can actually use them in your session. I want to show you briefly, we're not going to go into this in too much detail, but how you meet the Principals Compliance Checklist item 23. Now, when I read things like Principal Compliance Checklist item 23, it scares me. It's not that scary. I've read it a few times, okay? It's a relatively straightforward one to do, so let's not worry. We're going to look at all the resources Google have put together, and they've put together parent and teacher and student resources, and currently they're in Spanish and English. Okay, so you're more than welcome to pick your language, but as Miss Rosado said, you can always translate things in Google, which is another wonderful thing. And we're going to look at Interland. For those of you who haven't discovered Interland, Interland is a game. And I'm going to show you a brief overview. I'm going to tell you how I found playing Interland, how my 7-year-old friend managed to show me how to play it and did it a lot better than I did. And how even at one point I gave it over to my husband and said, will you just complete this level? Because I just found it too tricky. But it's not tricky, and the kids love it. They get really, really competitive about it. I've had students get competitive with their parents, which I really like because they're making it into a game at home. So, as I say, we're going to look at digital citizenship, Be Internet. We're going to look at sample activities and Interland. So just to get us started, I will introduce Project Recess. Project Recess is one of the organizations that works with schools. We work on Google, we work with Pear Deck, we work with Padlet, and we come in and we help teachers use the tools to engage the students. And of course, it's been a big thing at the moment. And that picture at the bottom, you may notice is not me. That's Santi. If you haven't met Santi, if you go to any Google event, you'll meet Santi. Santi he just knows everything about Google and is excellent at what he does. Okay, so if in doubt, mention Santi's name. He's going to kill me, mind you, for saying that. Okay, but we can help you in multiple ways, so you can always reach out to us, as well as reaching out to the DIIT team and all the other support you've got. So let's get into it. In the chat, I want you to put down what you think is a digital citizen. What does that word mean to you? So I'm going to give you just a minute, and I'm actually timing you on a watch. I will put up timers later. But what do you think a digital citizen is. Oh, nice, Derry. No worries, we're recording it. Safe and responsible internet use. Yeah, love that. No worries if you've got to pop off. We all know there's real life going on and you have 7 million other things going on, so don't worry about it. Tech savvy person, internet knowledge certificate. Okay. Anybody else got any ideas of what they think is makes a Google, what do we mean by the words digital citizenship? Using tech tools in a responsible manner, promoting best practice, respecting others, people who use the internet to connect, educate, and maintain community. Okay, and being mindful. The thing I love is everything you guys have just put in there is very true, but it's the same as being a good citizen, isn't it? It's exactly what we want people to do in their daily life, but we're saying do it online. And just because you're not having necessarily that person-to-person interaction, we still need that. We're using technology, we're promoting good behavior, we're not letting bullying happen and walking by. We are making sure that when we're having conversations, we know who we're talking to. These are all the things. And I think sometimes we forget to actually make sure that we are all on the same page with digital citizenship. Because as I say, nobody ever told me. And I came up with mine, and then I did one of these sessions and other people came up with some brilliant ideas. It's also people who use the internet regularly as well. And just because people were born a lot younger than I am, in the age when they had a device, I think they came out the womb with an iPad or something attached to them, doesn't make them a digital citizen. And I think that's the other thing we sometimes think. Okay, so what is a digital citizen? I'm just going to play a really, really short video that sums it up. And I wanted to play this video after I got your take on it. And you're going to see most of the things you said are here. The reason I wanted to play it afterwards is I wanted to see where we all were before I kind of went through the presentation. So let's hope you can hear it. Sometimes Zoom plays up for me. Now, I know if you blinked, you missed that video, but it is in the presentation, you can go back to it. But one of the things I think that's really important is also knowing who you're talking to and knowing who those people are and are they real people? Because it's really easy to make friendships online and never meet people in real life. I remember saying to my nephew, okay, he was an adult now, but at the time he was doing some online gaming. He was telling me all about his gaming friends. And I said to him, oh, how old are they? And he asked, and they were 20. And he was 12. And I'm like, maybe not so appropriate. But of course, it's not a conversation and it's not something you can know online. So digital citizenship is all about that staying safe online and applying certain behaviors. And to get to meet even the compliance, the CL23, the Principles Checklist Compliance Code, What you need to do is you need to train your students and show them about digital citizenship. The same as you give them normal lessons and you give them normal rules and you help them understand how to work in the real world, it's exactly the same thing. And you have to record it. And the advice is to give at least 2 different sessions. Make sure you've got a digital recording of it. Make sure you've got recording of what goes into it and what you've covered. Now, Laura's going to go through that and her team are going to go through that in much more detail next week. But as the video said, it's about not taking things at face value. How many of us have clicked on the first link that comes up in Google or the second link that comes up in Google and forget that actually Google returns probably 20 pages of results, if not more? I might go to the 3rd page, but I rarely go further than that because we're trusting that information. And whereas when it was in a book, yeah, I remember books and encyclopedias and all those sorts of things, you knew where that information was coming from, but you don't always know where that information is coming from. And quite often it looks like it's a reputable source. So it's about not taking things at face value. It's about being safe. It's about being responsible. And it's about making your community better. So, because the lovely Laura is managing the chat for me along with her wonderful team, in the chat, can you give me an example of when there's been an issue or a time when digital citizenship has come up in your school? What was the issue with your student? Has it actually arisen yet? Have you had to have that conversation? So in the chat, if you just drop in any time that there's been an example of when digital citizenship was an issue in your school. Susan, I hear you. Melissa, great, well done. I love the fact that it's a normal conversation for you guys. Anybody had cyberbullying? Children not logging on, bullying. Oh, bullying's a big one. Do you guys know why bullying has become quite such a big issue? There's been some studies done on it. And the reason bullying, cyberbullying, has become such a big issue, yes, perfect, Raphael, it's because there's I can't say the word today, it's because you can hide behind the screen. And I don't have to say it face to face. You're never going to meet me. I have a friend who wrote a book that was going to be published on Amazon, and they got some reviews before the book was actually launched on Amazon saying it was rubbish because they didn't like the author. And these people were trolling people on Amazon. I've had other people who say that, oh, this restaurant's awful because I don't like the sound of it. And it's because we can hide behind things. We would never go up and do that in a restaurant, would we? And I think students forget that. Thumbs and thugs, thumb thugs. Oh, I love that, Laurie. I love that description. And this digital workshop that we're about to move on to, what I'm going to do is in the slides, you're going to see that there's a lot of sample activities underneath. We're not going to get time to go through all of them, but you can turnkey with parents. And they're kind of things that they're questions parents can have with their children of what would you do in this situation? And they're not all clear cut. Because some of them, I have to admit, I look at and I think, I like to think I would do this, but would I do that? And we're all guilty of it.
If I can jump in really quickly, I think someone sent me a message directly. And so someone, and we've had this happen a couple of times, but even students possibly undressing. I know our team was specifically emailed about a teacher was teaching and someone came into her background and it looked like they weren't wearing an appropriate amount of clothing. And these are all things that happen because again, we know that, work from home and teaching and learning from home look a little different, but these are absolutely conversations to have that do fall under digital citizenship.
And I like to think of it's a bit like setting up your classroom rules. So I don't know whether you guys all do it, I'm sure you do, but at the beginning, with my classes, I always set up group rules. What are our boundaries? What's acceptable? What's not acceptable? What are consequences? And it's exactly the same thing. And if nobody's ever told you, then how do you know? Okay, you hope they've got common sense. You hope they wear their clothes. But it's a little worrying. Now, for all we know, and I'm going to be really nice and give that student the benefit of the doubt. They were so eager to get onto their lesson and they just rolled out of bed and they hadn't had time to put clothes on. I'm just going to give them a benefit of the doubt there. I doubt it, but you never know. So I'm going to put up a timer in just one sec, and Laura is going to put you into breakout rooms because she is the queen of breakout rooms. So what we're going to do is in breakout rooms, and you might want to take a screenshot of this or make a note of it, because if you're like me, you get into the breakout room and you forget what you're going to discuss. I want you to think of real ways in which we can help our students become good digital citizens and what skills, real skills, we need to give them. I'll put up a 3-minute timer on my screen. I would love to have someone put up to come back from each group. So we're not going to call on every group, but I'd love to have someone. So can you nominate someone in your group to kind of do the voice back? So when I say group 1, group 2, whatever. But if you're not, and you've got something important to add, please add it into the chat. Okay, so Laura's going to give me the thumbs up in the breakout rooms in a second. I will put up a digital timer. And she is inviting me to join host room 7. So I'm not sure which rooms you're going. Can you all see the breakout rooms? You're all being sent. If anyone's got any difficulties, drop it in the chat for us.
If you need any help, I'll stay here in our main room, but you should have received a notice. Please go into your room. I've also dropped into the chat the 2 prompts. Hold on, let me get the second one. So you've got the 2 prompts in the chat to help guide you as you head into your breakout room. All right, Rose, I'm going to send you one moment. Hold on here. If anyone else needs support, let me know, but please join the room that you were sent to. If for some reason you can't, let me know. And don't worry if you have to leave. Like we said before, we get it. You know, folks are in schools, you're doing a whole lot of stuff. We appreciate you being able to join for even just part of the session. We do appreciate it. All right, and I see folks coming back in. I know breakout rooms are always quick, but hopefully you were able to have some awesome discussion. And as soon as Tracy gets back, I'm going to turn it over to her to continue to lead our training.
I don't know how, I mean, if we were supposed to wait for instruction, me and a couple of, another young man, Abdullah, we were in the room. Nobody else spoke with us. And
you know, and that's what happens when folks don't join. So I was trying to actually, you know, because from the presenter end of things, I can move some folks around. So if I saw that someone was alone, I tried to like shift some folks.
No, you have a hard job. That was nice, Lauren. But like we didn't know if anybody, you know, like I think there were about 4 people in our group, but we don't know if they heard or if.
Yeah, that happens. It's, you know, I'm glad that you at least were able to share with someone else. That's
that we did.
Awesome. All right. And Tracy, I believe, is back. She is sharing her screen again. So Tracy, I'm going to turn it back over to you. I believe you are on mute right now.
Sorry, as always, technology didn't want to unmute for me. Okay. Raphael, because I only came in on the real end of that, would you be comfortable sharing anything with us that you or your group felt?
No, I don't mind. While I was conversing with a gentleman, Mr. Abdullah, we were discussing that, yeah, two things that we know are like big issues, the bullying, and then some of the inappropriateness. I know in a prior school that I worked in, before they fixed the Google Classrooms, the teachers would leave and sometimes the classroom would stay open and the students were staying on and undressing and doing kind of things that they weren't realizing that it was being recorded. So telling them, about, how difficult and how long that stuff stays, and it's something that we have to deal with. And when preparing for meetings, I didn't do it, but if you prepare yourself like behind the wall so nobody walks behind you, prevents a lot of those, those accidents of people walking around naked, which it happens. Sometimes we get engrossed in the screen. We don't see what actually is behind us. So that's something we discussed.
Yeah, we were talking about basically plan ahead, just be mindful, plan ahead, plan for all these little things. And as far as cyberbullying, if you're on a platform like this, you should do it where they have to put in a code to join in. So there's no, thumb thugs. I love that.
No,
I'm taking that one with me. I love that one right there. And so there's no thumb thugs, or you can verify who they are.
And I think Susan was saying something about normalizing in group 7.
Yes, thank you, Tracy. So Lisa was in our group and she shared so many excellent ideas. So to summarize those ideas, adults using different entry points in order to reach all students so that all students understand on their level. That is meeting the students where they are. Also, having an open door policy so students have many opportunities to answer questions and therefore trust is established. We also spoke about having a digital citizenship shout out where students actually receive a shout out for demonstrating excellent digital citizenship. And then the last item, which was not discussed, but I'll add it in, would be having students understand and practice certain expectations. An example is knowing their schedule. So they know when to come in, when not to come in, and not giving out that information to their friends who are not in their class.
And that comes back to privacy. I know we're short on time. Is there anybody else who would like to contribute? Because I don't want to cut anybody off. But if you want to, please come off mute and
I'll share. Yes. So I just want to add that parents and families and the whole community need to know about digital citizenship. That it is important for everyone's safety, but also the way even the family are using technology can impact also the way students are doing it. Like, for example, if you have a kid, student, or in your house, during dinner time or while you're eating, there's some different rules that you can remind your family member. So, but also within the school setting, within our school community, we always try to share these guidelines and reminders during every meeting that we have with our parents.
And I love that because, again, we can teach our students, and sometimes our students are more tech savvy. I don't know about you, but my parents ring me and go, this isn't working. How do I get it to work? But I've also got parents and people who have children who don't know things about child filters. about setting up what are safe websites, about parental controls. Nobody ever told them. How can they know? It's not a fault thing. It's just they didn't know. So, okay, guys, let's move on to Be Internet Awesome. So what is Be Internet Awesome? Be Internet Awesome is a program Google put together. And the idea that they put it together was to try and help students, parents, and teachers normalize this as an issue. So instead of once a year having a Digital Citizen Week, and I'm one of these people who hate things that happen once a year and that's it, okay, it becomes part of the learning, it becomes part of it. So if it comes up in class, you know how you would normally pick up a learning experience. If it comes up in a meeting, you would normally discuss it, doing that. And it's really aimed at 7 to 12-year-olds, grade 2 to 6. You can tweak it and you can make the questions more difficult, but that's the kind of age range it works well with. I find the 5th and 6th graders really get a lot out of this, okay? There are different slides and there are different resources depending on, but what it is there are 5 main areas. And actually, they're really straightforward areas. Share with care. Don't fall for a fake. Secure your secrets. It's cool to be kind. And when in doubt, talk it out. Now, all of these resources, as I say, you've got these resources. Underneath all my resources, I have links and links and links to parent guides, to the curriculum, to all sorts. So don't worry about these links if you don't catch them now, okay? There is a pledge, and what they suggest is that schools get students to sign up to a pledge so that this is seen as a big, important issue. Students actually sign up to say that they will not share their passwords. We've all done it. We all know we shouldn't do it. They are taught about what is phishing, what is a fake, how do you tell? They're taught about how to secure your secrets. And they're taught about this through discussion, through questions, and through games, and through offline and online activities. And I love the fact there's offline activities. And one of the activities we're going to do, or well, I'm going to tell you about, is a t-shirt designing activity, which I had my students do on paper rather than actually on t-shirts, but they won prizes. So it's trying to make digital citizenship relevant to everyone, but it's talking about how we model that behavior, but how we model that behavior offline and online, so that students see that it's a combined thing. It's not just one or the other. So be internet smart. Share with care. We all know good and bad news goes around the web so quickly. We know that sometimes fake news gets into the headlines, even though it might seem like it's from a respectable source. We've heard about Russian hackers come in trying to do things with not the election that's just gone, the one that's previous. So how do we share with care? What do we do? So one of my favorite activities, and as I say, this is in the speaker notes, is I get my students to make up a secret. So everyone has to make up a fake secret. Obviously, they don't tell anyone. Then either in breakout rooms, if you're doing it online, or you can do it in class, they have to tell their partner. Okay. And then they have to say, would you share this secret with anyone? So if I made up a secret that I have 3 brothers and they live on a farm, would they share it? Who would they share it with and why? Whereas if I made up a secret that I can't think of a secret now. I made up a secret that my password is always my dog's name. I would hopefully get different responses. And the idea is that the class then finally come together and they try to work out which bits are, like digital telephones, exactly, which bits are the truth and which bits are good to share and which bits aren't. And that's before we get into whether it's real or not. So we're asking them to make something up. The other way you can do this, and it is literally digital telephones. You know the old game where you started with one sentence, it went around the class, and by the end of the class, it became something completely different. So you might say, Tracy likes sausage rolls, something innocuous. By the end of the class, it's probably something like Tracy eats pigs, because it gets changed, it gets manipulated, and it's trying to get students to share with care, but it's also teaching them at the same time, actually, what sources are reliable. So share with care is one of my favorite ones, because it's talking about face-to-face as well as online. It's not just saying it's right to post. How many people have seen something on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, whatever, thought, oh, that sounds good, and reposted it and not checked it? I'm guilty. I've done it and I've had to go back and apologize. Or I thought I looked into it, but I looked into it quickly. I didn't look into it. How many people have said, I'm going on holiday? Well, okay, pretend we're in 2019. I'm going on holiday. I'm going to Hawaii next week, or I'm going to Austin next week. And then that gets shared wide. You think it's a completely innocent thing to say. But it's, again, it's about trying just to get those boundaries and getting the idea that for some people, sharing that with your best friend's fine. Sharing that with the whole world, maybe not such a great idea. Another one with a share with care that I really like is draw a representation of yourself. So you're designing a t-shirt using emojis only. Okay, so you're allowed to use 3 or 4 emojis, but no more, to represent yourself. Students have great fun with this because they look up all the different emojis. They can do it digitally, they can do it online, they can do it literally on a piece of paper. And then you get them to ask someone else what they think it says about them. Because the other thing, of course, with share with care is if we don't have any words with it, interpretations change. If you crop a picture and you only show a tiny bit of a picture, you might get one message. Whereas if you saw the whole frame, you might actually get a completely different message. And I love this. I love this, doing the different emojis. You may need to put in a few boundaries about which emojis. And I sometimes put up on my whiteboard the sort of emojis I want them to use, but it depends on your students and your teachers. But get parents to do it. Parents are really funny when they do this one, because when you say, oh, I think this makes you a happy-go-lucky person, they're like, no, I'm really not positive, and I don't like talking, and I'm stressed. So it's really interesting just to see that sort of actually we share with care, but we also make huge assumptions about people. I know some of you have to run off. Now, this is a big one that we all go on about. Secure your secrets. Don't share your passwords. Don't make them easily guessable. But we all have 72 million passwords. And actually, they should all be unique. It's also about locking out your devices when you walk away from them. But there's a wonderful game here where it's about sharing your secrets and who you would tell which secrets to. Now, my IT department have asked me my password. When I've had a problem, they've said to me, the first thing they've said to me, what's your username and password? And it's like, you're not going to ask me my password, you tell me to keep it secret. So I always end up changing it before I ring them, and then I change it after I ring them. But actually, we all do it. I don't know if anyone saw, but the president's password was hacked twice because he used quite a straightforward. He used a common phrase that he likes. His Twitter account was hacked twice because he maybe wasn't aware that you need to make things more complicated. Maybe one of his aides said to him and he thought, oh, that's fine to ask them. Actually, what happened with one leader, and not our president, they wrote it down and stuck it to their computer screen. Now, we all used to do that. And I bet some of you still have it stuck down somewhere, especially maybe your admin password or a password you don't use very often. But it's about trying to teach those students not to do that. So how do you teach students to create strong passwords? Does anybody have any ideas? Ernesto, I'm just laughing at your comment, sorry. I find this one really difficult to teach because my students feel, and a couple of people in the different breakout rooms said this, feel like I'm preaching at them and I'm telling them what to do. And actually, I don't get it. I'm not on their level. Why should I listen to you? I'll nod along, I'll pretend. This is where Interland comes in, and we'll look at Interland in a bit. And it's a brilliant game that actually explains to them why and how to create safe passwords. And it also teaches you how to do it with rhymes or to do it with first letters of poems and all sorts, rather than just password 123 or password 2020. These, as you'll see, there's printable curriculum, and I've put the pages that all of these are relevant to. Now, I know we've only got till 11:30, so this is why I'm flipping through them quite quickly, okay? So we could spend a lot more time. Be internet brave. When in doubt, talk it out. This to me is the hardest, because it's easier to pretend things aren't happening. It's easier to not get involved than it is to actually say, hang on, I've seen this bullying going on. Or I don't think that's right. Or to look stupid when I say to my husband, and my husband's in IT, I say to him, does this link look suspicious to you? And it's about finding those people who actually we trust and we know we can trust. You know how quite often in school, people have an emotional person a student might have an emotional person they can go and contact if they need to calm down or talk to a teacher because there's a teacher they get on better with. It's about that. It's also about for parents though. If I'm in doubt, who do I talk to? Well, I don't have children, so that is a complete lie, but I've got children and they're saying to me, is this safe, mum? I'm expected to be like the expert. Parents, mum, dads, and carers are meant to be the experts on everything and know absolutely everything. So who do they go to? Can they come to you guys? Can they come to the parent coordinators? Is there that open space? With the Be Internet Brave, what activities can you do? Well, you can do things along the lines of having conversations with the students that lead into also be internet kind. So I've got an activity for you. And a friend of yours dropped her phone by the drinking fountain near the school soccer field. Someone found it and sent a really mean message about another student to a bunch of people on her soccer team. Then they put the phone back by the drinking fountain. You found your phone? Didn't think anything of it. But someone told you it had happened. What did you do? So as a friend, what did you do? And as the individual, what did you do? Or another one, someone sends out a meme and they maybe draw a funny mustache on someone. There's no names on it, but you kind of know who they're getting at. What do you do about it? Do you ignore it? Do you report it? Do you accept that actually it's just one of those things? Do you forward it on to your friends? And this is the one that I love asking parents, because the amount of parents who will say, oh, you should report it. And then you kind of do an anonymous vote and say, okay, how many of you would have forwarded it on to a friend? You get like numbers like 70% actually would have forwarded it on. 90% like to think they wouldn't have, but we all do it. And it's also about being realistic, isn't it? And being truthful about those things. So it's about being internet kind, making sure that we keep our students safe, making sure they know who to ask and what is normal. Is it normal for a 7-year-old to be playing a game online with a 20-year-old? Where is our norms? When is that normal? Has anybody got any questions at the moment? Because I know we're short on time. Yeah, so if you all manage to get into the, I want to show you a very short video on Interland, but I'll come back to it. There are all these resources. Okay, I gave you resource overload. So you've got a parent guide. This is actually aimed at parents. It's written for parents. These are printable offline activities. There's a tip sheet, which is the sort of key points. There's the link to Interland. There's the curriculum that teachers use, but you can tweak. And then there's other resources, things like Common Sense, because some of these, and you'll see in the game, some of these you'll think maybe they're not so appropriate for the older students. Common Sense has some great resources. And it's not so much about whether you use Google and it has to be Google. It's about making digital citizens. In the UK, we used to have a brilliant one where someone went to an interview and the interviewer had done a bit of research and they had seen all these nasty videos they had posted online and sort of said, oh, well, why would we give you the job? Because students forget about their digital footprint. And don't forget, once the student's over 13, there are digital footprints. More information can be kept about them. There are the Children's International Protection Act. There are different acts, but those are only for reputable companies. Let's be honest, not all games actually do that. And until it's pointed out, we've got the compliance, and we've got a Family Online Safety Institute, which do some brilliant videos. But I just want to show you Interland, because Interland is a brilliant little game. You don't log into Interland. You must finish the land you are in. Okay, if you don't finish the land you are in, you have to go back to the beginning. And I'm going to give you my tips on it because I found it really difficult. But students seem to pick it up really easily. You do use a keyboard for it. So it's all about keyboard control. So this is Interland. And had we more time, I would get you playing it. And the students get certificates at the end of it. So they can get certificates at the end of each world. So you have the Tower of Treasure, which is the yellow one. And you have to avoid boulders and collect email and passwords to stop them being spread wide. Then once you get to the end, you have to answer some questions. You have Kind Kingdom, where you have to jump up the different levels. That was the green one, and collect the hearts. And you give the people who are looking sad, you give them a heart. But you also have to block the cyberbullies. And it's not as straightforward as you think, okay, because you have to run and jump and you have to go up in the right level. If anybody remembers Super Mario, it's that kind of thing, but you're using your keyboard. There's Reality River, which is the one I love because I can do. It's multiple choice question and answer, and I have to build a bridge to get across the river. The one I always show the students. And then the last one, the blue one, is all about who you share your secrets with. So do you share things with your parents? Do you share them with your friend? But you have to beam your secret to them. So it's also a great maths lesson, and it gets complicated. If you want to have a go at these, they're really good fun, they're free, but I want to show you something, and I hope you can see my keyboard. No, it's not showing up. Okay, what I would say is on your keyboard, I lift my fingers on the cursor arrows to go left and right and forward and back. I lift. Do not lift your fingers, keep them hovering over them, because the game moves quite quickly and you can't slow it down. Or find a 7-year-old and they'll just show you how to do it. But all of these things are questions that you can send out. I have done it where I've sent out different questions after the presentation to parents, and what they've done is they've put them in a pot, and once a month they pull out a scenario that they discuss with their students. Their children. Sorry, they're not students when they're yours, are they? Forgot that bit. So I like giving them ideas of how they can do this, and then they come back. I have a discussion board or a Padlet that I share with them where they can actually say, I'm having real difficulty with this. How do I deal with that? You're not the expert, but you may be able to help them. They trust you. They've got a brilliant relationship with you guys. You guys do an amazing job and are such a central link for the school. I mean, this is one of those scenarios again of what would you do? Your kids are really excited about a trip you've planned to visit their grandparents, and you are too. One of them used your smartphone without you knowing about it, because they all know your PIN code, whether you think they do or not. They always know your PIN code. One of them used your smartphone to post about the trip on social media, where you're going, and tagging everyone in the photo, including the grandparents. What would you do? Now, I ran this past a few friends who have children of different ages, and most of them they would go berserk. But okay, let's get over the kind of immediate reaction. What would you do? How would you explain to them why this is a problem? And one of my friends came up with a great idea and said, watch a bit of Home Alone where you get the burglars break in, because they knew the house was going to be empty. So I think there's really creative ways you can do this. I know you guys have to go. I can hang around for any questions. Feel free to come off mute. There are hundreds and hundreds of resources. I just want to show you this key tip sheet. Give it a sec, it's coming up. Honestly, it's coming up. And it has 3 or 4 tips per section. So for be kind, be strong. And it's a great thing to put up in a classroom, in a library. It's a great thing as well to ask the students to come up with their own. Because a lot of this wording, double check a site for credibility, doesn't mean anything. So I get them to translate this into their own version. The name of the PD is, Laura, you are on fire. And it's online is where we did this learning. Okay. If any of you have any questions, that's fine. Obviously, you've got DIIT. I hope I get that right. I normally get your initials wrong. And they are more than happy to help you. There are lots of stuff. There are lots of areas you can reach out for help. My details are at the end. That's not to say email me and text me. And if you text me, I have had people do this at 11 o'clock at night. Unless your house is on fire, I'm not responding. Okay, but I will get back to you and point you in the right direction if I can.
So I'm going to jump in really quick here, folks. I'm going to put a link to our PC team. I know that many of you are in there, but if you're not, I would love for you to click on that link. That'll take you to a Microsoft team. I encourage you to join there, because what we do after these sessions is that we will post all the content you saw today. So I know that we were sharing Tracy's agenda and presentation, but sometimes things happen. You open it and then you close it and oh no, it's gone. Don't worry, we'll post it in the Teams channel as well. I know Derry does her end of the week wrap up, so we will try and get this out to you in as many multiple channels as possible. But I do want to thank Tracy and Santi from Project Recess, who worked with us to put this together. Those were some fabulous resources. And hopefully you are now feeling supported in being able to tackle digital citizenship. I think, it's always been really important, but especially now, given everything that is happening in the world, given the way in which we are conducting our classes, we have to make sure we're tackling this topic and that we know where the resources are, right? So you've got tons of resources. You are not alone in doing this work.
Absolutely. And just to echo Laura, a lot of, I don't know if you guys are aware, but it actually FACE has had a recent request to increase training on digital citizenship because families are reporting that there's an increase of cyberbullying. So if we think about our world today, where some schools are doing in-person learning and some children are doing in remote learning. So when you're doing remote learning, you no longer have the security team that you would normally have at the school level, right? So our parents are now educators, but also our school safety. They become everything. So how do we teach our parents, our families to become digital citizens so that they can teach their children how to be citizens online? So I thank you so much, Tracy and Laura and the team for providing this presentation, because I really, as I was looking at it, I was like, wow, there's so many terms that I've seen. I love, first of all, Lori, thank you so much for the thumb gangster.
Thumb thugs.
The thumb
I
thugs.
love that.
And the pledge that we saw today, that's something that we can use. Next month is Respect for All. We have Respect for All week. So use this information, Project Recess. Oh my God, you guys already have the tools. Now it's just to build on it. So again, thank you all. We are at 11:33. We are done with our digital PD.
Woo!
And oh my gosh. And it
Is there an attendance form?
Yes, there is.
We'll
We'll drop the link again. I know people start saying thank you and then it's like all of a sudden it gets buried. Right. We'll post it again. Don't worry. And Latika was on it. So you'll see that link in the chat. This is Be Internet Awesome with Google. That's the name of the class. It should be close to the top as we try and alphabetize these, but I'll pop it into the chat, just in case folks need it. And Latika was already on it. So that's the name of the class. And again, thank you all. We're heading into a 3-day weekend, so please enjoy the 3 days. And also remember that next Friday, we're going to be doing a session all about how to conduct an effective remote session. And like I said, Ms. Rosado shared a lot of practices that we're actually going to highlight. So you got a taste of it. It's awesome. Perfect. And we're going to go over some things so that you feel more comfortable running these sessions. So thank you again on behalf of my team. I want to say thank you. Thank you to all the folks who've stuck around with us. We really do appreciate it. Thank you again to Tracy and the team. Another fabulous Friday. I love these. I feel like I end the week on such a high.
Right. And to all my FLCs and FSCs, please bring in your parent coordinators to this particular next week's session. I know we get a lot of requests and, I want to know how to facilitate a virtual meeting. So this is great. I mean, we're going to get a lot of tips and strategies on how to facilitate. So make next week your PC meeting and then host a watch party with our digital PD. Thank you again, everyone. We'll see you next week. Happy long weekend rest and take care and stay safe.
And thank you, Laura, and everyone on your team, because you do a lot in the background, and Derry, I don't think you get the praise, so thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. This was great.
True. Thank you, guys.
Yeah.